A more thoughtful, calm, and wonderful human being. My name is Brett Tilford, pastor at the table in Sachse, Texas. And before we jump in today, I just need a moment to mourn my Cowboys. My gosh, why? They're underachieving. Jason Garrett has to go. He does. It's been like, what, a decade? Yeah. Done. Okay. Rant over. So, this is part 4 of our, I think it's part 4, something, I don't know, it doesn't matter. But we're going through a series on like relational conflict, what to do when relationships break down. And so today I want to talk about an idea that's been popularized by a family therapist named Edwin Friedman. It's known as relational triangles. And this is, honestly, it's fascinating. It's describing sort of a deeply just human phenomena, relational phenomena, that we both perpetuate, and in many ways we are victims of it. So I want to give you sort of I'll talk about it in the victim scenario, since that'll be less accusatory. So let's say Susie gets offended by Jim, and her feelings, really hurt. But does she go directly to Jim to talk about it? No, of course not. That would make too much sense. Instead, what does she do? She goes to Rachel. And she says, "You wouldn't believe how Jim treated me. I'm shocked. I'm offended." And of course, Rachel, she's a super caring person. And so she says, "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. That must be so hard." And then Susie says, "You wouldn't believe how hard it is." And then Susie proceeds to verbally process with Rachel for the next half an hour. And the whole time Rachel's like, kind of increasingly uncomfortable, right? Okay, so what's happened in this scenario? Susie has triangled Rachel. Now, why does this happen, and what issues arise when we do this? First, I think we triangle because it acts as a release valve of sorts, right? When Susie has an issue with Jim, she kind of feels all that angst, but it's scary and difficult to talk with Jim. In fact, Susie would rather talk with anyone in the world about her pain other than the one person who can actually do something about it, right? So what does she do? So she talks with Rachel, and then lo and behold, when she talks with Rachel, she feels a little bit better. But here's the problem, and this is point number 2. When triangled, right, when we're the ones being triangled, we now carry the stress for others' relationships, right? So Susie walks away feeling better, but what about Rachel? Well, now she feels terrible. In fact, she's stressed because she's worrying about this relationship, right? She's now carrying the burden for it. In a sense, she feels responsible for it. This leads to point number 3, which is that allowing myself to get triangled, it means that I now carry the stress for a relationship I am actually powerless to fix. This leads to burnout. This is actually one of Edwin Friedman's insights. He thinks often burnout, like when people are just like, not just, "Oh, I'm tired, I need to rest," but burnout is like something more chronic, something deeper. And he believes when this happens, it's usually about triangles, as opposed to just like, "Oh, I worked 13 hours instead of 10, and for too many days, so I got burned out." It's like whenever there's legit psychological burnout, probably triangles. Okay, so there's a ton of other literature and things on chronic stress in triangles. I don't want to get into all the weeds of it, but I'll just simply say that this is often why leaders and highly responsible people experience burnout, right? Because they run around allowing themselves to be triangled all day long. They're highly responsible, so they're taking responsibility for not just their lives, everyone's lives and their relationships. And yet, these are lives and relationships that they can't actually control, right? Who can you control? You. And that's it, right? So the triangled person is powerless, and yet they are stressed. And by the way, this crap can put you in an early grave. And furthermore, if you are the peacemaker in your family, watch out. watch out, you're probably getting triangled freaking all the time, right? So your sister calls you to process about mom, and then mom calls you to process about the sister. It's like, oh my God. So, and again, this is not only, it's stressful for you, and it's actually bad for them. This leads me to point number 4. When you allow yourself to be triangled, you are actually ensuring that others never mature. They never mature. Why? Because you're standing in the way. Because people grow up by dealing with their crap, right? By learning to take responsibility for their own hearts, their own emotions, their feelings, with their lives, right? And learning to have hard conversations where they name how others have hurt them. This is part of how they mature. But coming back to our story, when Rachel allows herself to be triangled, right? Because she is allowing it. It would be easy to say, like, she's a victim. But Rachel could stop Susie and be like, hey, stop, right? And so when she allows herself to be triangled, she thinks she's being a good friend to Susie. But actually, she's doing Susie and Jim a disservice. This is really exactly the advice Jesus offers in Matthew chapter 18, verse 15, when he writes, let me look it up here. If another believer sins against you, hi Biscuit, hi Dax. If another believer sins against you, go privately and point out the offense. If the other person listens and confesses it, you have won that person back. In other words, Jesus is saying, don't triangle people, go right to the source. Okay, so in conclusion, I want you to take a moment, take a quick inventory of your life. Are there relationships coming to mind where you are either being triangled or are triangling others? I want you to tune in tomorrow, or probably not tomorrow, tomorrow's Christmas, maybe in a few days. I'm definitely taking tomorrow off. Where I'll unpack how to get out of relational triangles. And yeah, hopefully that'll be helpful. So that's all for today. If you like this video, please click the like button, subscribe, share it, etc., etc. Love y'all. Grace and peace.